Good evening and welcome to Anime-Zing Radio here on YouTube. This is a special Thursday night show. We have an amazing guest joining us. We want to remind everybody that Anime-Zing Radio is brought to you tonight by HomecircleMedia.com for the latest and greatest in anime gear. Everything from pens, pencils, stationery, and officially licensed art books. Be sure to check out HomecircleMedia.com today or look for them at an upcoming convention near you. We're also brought to you by Casey Fox. That's KAYCIFOXX for all of your artwork, cosplay, and photography needs. Be sure to check out Casey Fox on Facebook and Instagram. We're also brought to you by Darren.
For those of you in the Triangle area in North Carolina and need lawn or landscape service, give me a call.
And once again, welcome to Anime-Zing Radio. I'm your host, Doug Engler. Joining us, as always, in the co-host seat is our good friend, Mr. Darren Starling.
Who will hopefully remain awake tonight.
And we are honored to have one of our good friends, one of our sponsors, one of the guys who has believed in us from the beginning, and we always love talking with him. Please welcome Gavin Goszka from Home Circle Media.
Hey.
And this time we have him on camera.
Yeah, this is very strange. I'm supposed to doing interviews in general just facelessly.
So this is our new home, our new setup. We got cameras rolling and everything. And I know this is your first time joining us since we made the switch back in August from Blog Talk to YouTube. But we think things have been going good.
That's cool. Good format, I mean, it's I don't know. I think you guys should be doing well on here,
Oh yeah. Plus, it's going to be a lot of fun, moving forward, especially when we get cosplaying guests on. As you said, if you had a more mobile setup, you could show off a lot of the new merchandise that's coming in for Home Circle Media. I saw you post recently that you have a lot of stuff getting ready to go up on the website.
Yeah, we got in some very late editions, for the holiday season. I think it's probably getting closer to 30 new products now. Most of them are up on the website. There's just a few more that we have to get posted up there. But yeah, a good mix of things, like shows that I've been waiting to get merchandise from for a while, like Demon Slayer, of course, One Piece. The merchandise for One Piece never ends. It goes on and on. And yeah, puzzles, art books, some more paper theater, a lot of restocks and stuff. So definitely check out the new arrivals section on the site because there's some cool gift ideas if you're still in the market for some gift ideas.
And we were talking a little bit leading up to the show through Messenger that Home Circle Media turned 10.
Yes, that's hard to believe. I mean, it seems like it on one hand, but then it doesn't seem like it on another the other hand. But yeah, that time goes fast, man. A lot happens.
and looking back over the journey of when you decided to start Home Circle Media as to where you are now, did you ever imagine you would be where you are, or?
No, the funny thing is, I actually started. Home Circle Media was originally founded as a CD and DVD duplication service back in the days when physical media was still a thing. I had several robotic duplicators, and I used to do, like, for local, businesses and stuff, duplication of anything from office materials, like if they needed training videos, to local musicians and stuff, of course. But then I started seeing the market really falling off for that, and that coincided right conveniently with the time that I was getting into anime. So I thought about making this big jump in terms of, what the company was all about. But the funny thing is, it kind of happened almost accidentally at first. I had started booking shows as a musical guest, conventions, just to perform. And I had a merchandise table set up with CDs and, of course, Midnight Syndicate stuff there too. And I picked up just a handful of little kind of trinkety things like pencil sharpeners and pencils from shows. And that stuff I noticed right away went like hotcakes. Everybody was like, "Oh wow, you got something from Fruits Basket? Oh cool!" They were really gravitating towards the merchandise, and I thought, let's see if we can maybe parlay that into something, and started contacting some of the manufacturers, and it just grew from there.
And we've we met probably, I want to say 9 years ago, maybe 10 years ago. I remember, I don't remember exactly when, because I know I've been doing the show 7.5 years, and I was a part of Crossing the Void, which is where we first met, as with you and Ed for Midnight Syndicate getting interviewed, and then during a commercial break, somehow anime came up.
Yeah.
and we started talking about Strike Witches, hence the figure that's up on the here with me tonight.
Nice
And
choice.
we just kind of hit it off and continued chatting from there.
Yeah, that's and then I met you in person at, what was it, QuinnyCon?
Yep.
Which sadly doesn't exist. That con was a blast and a half. I was so hoping that would continue, but it unfortunately did. They ran into a bit of bad luck with their venue and stuff. So, but yeah, that was kind of fun.
And then from QuinnyCon, we got to meet, hang out a little bit. Then as things happened, decided to start up this show, which you were all for when I first was like, I'm thinking of doing an anime show. What's your thoughts? And if I remember correctly, you were like, do it. I don't know of any other really good anime podcasts out right now.
Yeah, and I still don't. I'm not, certainly not saying that there aren't any, but I knew more streaming radio than anything. I wasn't aware of any, shows that do interviews and that kind of thing. So it just sounded like something that would fill a gap in the, certainly in the market, and there'd be a demand for it. And look at you, you've been going for now quite a while.
Yeah. And we've been having a lot of fun with this. It's hard to believe 7.5 years. April will be 8 years.
Yeah.
And things have been nuts, of course, through the years, watching, Home Circle Media grow, watching us grow, and then we've switched homes. We're on our third home now, from Hazy to Blog Talk to now YouTube. And every time you feel like you have to start fresh, start from ground zero.
Yeah. I was just going through, I was organizing some photos. My photos just ended up getting into this big mess of folders on various hard drives and stuff. And I ran across some of my old convention photos from way back in the day, when my setup did not involve grid wall. It was, a single 6-foot table with those little mini grids that you can kind of set up. And, I had probably a dozen sets of buttons and pins and some pencil cases and pencils. And that was a trip and a half. Because I lost track of how many SKUs we carry now actively. I think it's upwards of 1,000, which is probably too much. But yeah, back then it was we have notebooks, we have pens and pencils and buttons, and that would be it.
And then you started doing more and more cons, and then you got to meet Darren down in the Carolina cons.
Yeah, we met up at Anime-Zing down in that's Raleigh, actually. Which sadly, Darren, I don't know if Doug passed this news to you or not. Anime-Zing this coming year is the same weekend as NakaCon out in Kansas City. Well, it's Overland Park. So unfortunately, I will not be able to do Anime-Zing this year.
Well, looking at it anyway, they're holding Anime Boston the same weekend as Anime-Zing, and Doug's trying to coast me up there. So,
oh boy,
yeah. So, and if they hold MomoCon during Anime-Zing again this year, that's going to be four popular conventions, I'd take it, in one weekend. That's going to be a tough one for a lot of people, especially since this will be Anime-Zing's first return, because they were supposed to be able to return last year, but due to certain circumstances, they were basically told the restrictions were basically lifted the week or two before the con, literally a week after they'd made the cancellation announcement.
Oh, that's tough. Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah.
A lot of cons did end up on Memorial Day weekend. I don't know if it's just because of the availability of venues and stuff, but I know there seems to be quite a few that are overlapping next year.
Yeah, I know Anime Boston typically has Easter weekend booked for the Heinz Convention Center, but for scheduling 2022, they had to move it to Memorial Day weekend, which is really, really late for what Anime Boston typically is. Plus, I know they have some really strict rules about who they let in regarding to vaccinations and all the COVID protocols and stuff like that. I'm expecting maybe half capacity
Yeah.
from what it has been in years past.
That's what I've been experiencing this year with the conventions that I've done. They've been pretty much running at about half. Maybe a little better than that, just depending on the con. But yeah, that sounds about right.
And it's, Kineticon was maybe half at best from what it had been, because we've made Kineticon. AAC was definitely that's the fewest amount of people at AAC I've ever seen. Granted, they were at a smaller convention location than they had been years past. And then Saratoga Comic-Con, I just happened to go in on one day because of taking a mental health day and passing through to Saratoga. It was like, let me just stop in and say hi to some friends, and didn't realize how many people I was going to see there that I knew. And they were really busy. I think that was the busiest, and this was on a Sunday. I think that was they said that it was the most attendance they've ever had for a Saratoga Comic-Con.
Yeah, I saw the attendance numbers for that. I want to say it was like 7,000 or something. It was something crazy.
Oh, it was nuts.
That's cool.
That for all 3 days or just Sunday?
I think it was all 3 days. Sam had a really, really good show that weekend, and it's like, it makes me want to get a table for next year for Saratoga, but the spring show is the week before Anime Boston, and my focus is AB to start off next year, so I don't think that's going to be feasible to do Sam's show and then that. I may look for his fall show for Saratoga. Plus, he told us that he is planning on doing Plattsburgh Comic-Con again next year, so we'll see what happens for that.
Oh.
And obviously, if he does Plattsburgh Comic-Con, getting a table there is basically going to be just the cost of the table. I don't have to worry about hotel or really even travel because it's 10 minutes up the road.
Right. That's always nice.
Now, speaking of conventions coming back, Evan, you had told me that you found that some of the conventions that you had been attending because of the pandemic having caused so many cancellations, you saw some cons that were announcing closing their doors or very close to closing their doors.
Yeah. There were a couple announcements, right kind of in succession about a week or two ago. Daisho Kan was a show that we used to do pretty regularly for the last, maybe like 4 or 5 years up in Wisconsin in the Dells. And they just said, the whole closure and stuff last year impacted them to the point where they're done, sadly. And that's a con that had been running for 13 years. So that's, it's always sad to see any con go, but especially one that's longer running. And this isn't something that they've not closed yet, but NakaCon got a lot of personal ties to that one. I'll get into that in a sec, but they just put up a fundraiser because they said that they're in danger of not being able to continue after next year's show. The 2022 show is definitely going to happen, but if they're not able to raise what their target is by the time the show hits, there's a very real possibility that may be their last show. NakaCon has always been one of my absolute favorite shows. I signed on as a musical guest there. I think it was back in 2011. It was a while ago when it was first doing that. And they treated me like absolute royalty. It was probably the coolest guest experience I've ever had. I mean, as far as like the hotel arrangements and just everybody was so awesome to deal with. I got to do some signings. I got to be a guest judge on like the karaoke, competition, and I think the cosplay competition. Got to hang out with the one. It was a band from Japan for dinner the one night. We took a bus with Brina Palencia, in fact, and some of the other guests that were there. It was just a really, really good experience. They've been phenomenal, ever since, and I've been a vendor there ever since too. So I really do not want to see that con go away for a lot of reasons. It's also been one of my best shows for sales, but that's kind of almost secondary to the kind of the personal thing, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I hope they can meet their goal. I'll do what I can to help them in any way that I can. We've been a con supporter, which is we donate some products and stuff to put in these VIP bags. We've been doing that for the last several years. So I hope they have that program going again. But yeah, I think they were one of the first ones to get canceled. I was on my way down there. In fact, fortunately, I wasn't that far from home. But that's when things with with everything last year, when it really started getting ramping up and getting serious, and you saw a lot of the closures, they were right on the edge of that, and I guess they ended up losing a lot of money from the hotel, and everything, the venue that they had booked. So they got hit pretty bad with that. But I'm seeing a lot of the cons still. A lot of them didn't come back this year. Whether it was due to not being able to secure a venue or the dates that they wanted or other reasons. I think next year is going to be the big telltale sign for the ones that are going to continue on and stuff. And I hope they can pull through. I mean, I know it's got to be hard when you take a hit like that and you've got money laid out front to secure the venue and everything, and then it just kind of falls away. So fingers crossed for 2022.
Oh yeah, definitely. And if you are still in contact with some of the people with NakaCon, let them know that we would love to have them on the show to promote the convention, try to help them with their fundraiser and things like that. Because
Cool.
there are so many, like a show that's been around for a long time, you don't want to see them go away. Like I know if Anime Boston had to close their doors, or Kineticon or something, like a convention that we have strong ties with, it would be tough to deal with.
Yeah. It's like I was saying, I hate to see any con close because there's good people running them. There's a fan base there. Like we lost one. This was their last year. It was Animatic Con down near Cincinnati. I got to know the con organizer, and he was just a really nice guy, really good stuff. He founded the con around supporting a charity that he felt very, personal ties with and everything. So it was always tied to something beyond just the con. So that again, it's like you hate to see something like that go away. That was kind of a unique little, I don't know, I guess appeal or purpose that they were kind of tied into and stuff. So. And this was their last year for that as well.
Oh yeah, and it like you said, it's always tough to see any cons close. I know we worked closely with Nomakai Dallas for about a year and a half, and they only lasted 2 years.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff you see with these up and coming conventions include, they have a good first year, they try to make the second year bigger and better, and then they bankrupt themselves trying to overexert themselves instead of build slowly. And I think that's something that happened with Nomakai, which was sad to see, because we did work with them quite a bit on trying to build up for their show a couple years ago. And I know that pre-pandemic we were having conversations about, are there too many conventions? Because there was a convention every weekend, usually within a 3 to 4 hour drive of you. Didn't matter what part of the country you were in. It was boom. Here's a small, college convention. Here's a small Comic-Con at a library. Here's, AAC, Anime Boston, San Diego Comic-Con. You name it. There was cons going like every weekend.
Yeah.
And now it's like, Memorial Day, you've got 4 big ones next year, and it's people are going to be trying to figure out which way do they want to go. I know this weekend, we have friends that are at PAX. Is it PAX Unplugged in Philadelphia that's going on this weekend? I know it's one of the PAX ones.
Okay, yeah.
And I know some good friends of ours, including Douglas Shute with Victory Conditions Gaming, is at that one. I've never been to a PAX. I know it's a gaming con. I would like to check out a PAX at some point. PAX East usually is in Boston. But obviously funds need to be allocated to certain shows, and that's not one that we can do right now. Plus prices, probably because of the pandemic and cons having to take 1 to 2 years off, we're seeing price hikes on admission because they're trying to make up for some lost funds. Anime Boston, I know, is a nonprofit, so whatever they bring in goes to future cons. And not having, like, they were amongst the first to get hit by the pandemic in 2020 as well, because the pandemic took full swing about 2 weeks before Anime Boston, and AB, I think, was one of the largest cons to first shut their doors because of it.
Yeah, I'm actually seeing that on the vendor side too. Not, it's not as widespread. Like this year, a lot of the rates and stuff for booths they kept them the same, but I think for 2022, I'm starting to see some price hikes. And I mean, I get it. You have to do what you got to do to survive and stuff. But there's one in particular that I may end up very likely won't end up doing next year, that I've been with for a very long time. And again, personal ties. It used to be one of my favorite cons and everything. But it's just like, the numbers kind of aren't working anymore. And I don't know at what point, do you just do a con to do the con versus, trying to kind of make a smart business decision, and that's kind of where this one's falling. It's like, well, if I'm looking at it from strictly a business point of view, it doesn't make sense anymore. I'd love to be there, still support the heck out of them. Love the people that run it, all good, but I just don't know if it's going to be in the cards next year. So,
and especially as a vendor going to the conventions, like you were saying, if they're raising the prices of the tables, plus you have the price of travel and hotel, then you need to make sure that you can at least make that back, if not more than that. Yeah. And knowing in the past what your profit margins have been from these events, sometimes you've got to figure out, okay, if they're raising table prices $100 and I barely made that over the last time I was there, plus the state of the world that we're in right now, convention attendance is down. Yeah. So are you really going to be able to make that up next year? Possibly the year after you could. But we're also seeing, like we were talking about earlier on, attendance is down 50-60% at some conventions.
Yeah. I will say this much. The first con that I did, I was back to this year, was Anime St. Louis. And not only did they do a phenomenal job in terms of making it a very safe environment for everybody, because things were just starting to open back up. And I mean, they went so far, the convention center went so far as to install like HEPA filters in the HVAC system for the convention center. I mean, they really, really went out of their way to try and make everybody feel, safe and good about being back there. But I noticed a trend that continued across all the cons I did this year. The attendees really, really came through and do not want to see these cons shutting down. It was really awesome to see. We had people telling us that they bought badges, like they were staffers at the con, people that worked at the con. They bought badges to help support the con. They didn't have to buy a badge. They're a staff, but they bought it anyway. There were people that bought badges for the con that knew they would not be able to attend there in advance. They just wanted to support the con. Our sales were up on almost every con we did this year. It's like, it was really, really awesome seeing the whole anime community coming out and saying, hey, not only did we miss being here, we don't want these going away. And it was like a loud and clear message, and it was just really cool.
What do you think, Garen?
About to say, for the people that are dedicated, I'm sure that they made it a point to, no matter what happened, have some kind of funds where they could either attend the conventions at the very least, and definitely allocate them to where if they saw anything they liked, to support whoever came to the convention as a way to say, we're back.
Yeah. We had people, like attendees, tell us that. They're like, hey, we want to help you out. We know you're a small business that's probably struggling or whatever, and we're glad you're here, and we want to support you, So that, again, it was just like, it was awesome to see that, because I mean, I know everybody had, employment issues and stuff last year all over I mean, they didn't have to do that. It certainly wasn't something that I went into, this year expecting. But it was really cool. This is why we love anime.
Yeah. And the community as a whole, when something happens, you see anime fans come together in a strong way.
Yeah.
And one thing that I've noticed with the mandates in place at the conventions, Kineticon was more enjoyable this year than possibly years past because they had strict mandates in place for COVID. Everybody had to wear the masks. You had to be either a negative test within 48 hours beforehand or proof of vaccination. And I know that there's a lot of people who are, I don't want to do this or that, which is perfectly fine. It's your prerogative. But I think it helped the people who did not want to go the extra mile so that they could attend the con. I think it kind of weaned out some of the less fun con goers, so to speak, because years past, we all have had experiences where there's that one person or a small group of people who just kind of are troublemakers. And they just didn't feel the need to go the extra mile so they could attend the cons, which I think made them more enjoyable. I know AAC was a blast as well because, yeah, the attendance was down, but you knew everybody that was there wanted to be there. They wanted to have a good time, and you didn't have the negative people. You didn't have the people in there who wanted to cause trouble, be obnoxious on purpose. Outside of, the people who their characters were obnoxious, which were there people like that at Kineticon and AAC? Yeah, but you know what? They played their character perfectly. And, they were obnoxious because they were supposed to be, not just because they wanted to be an ass.
That's cool.
And I think that helped to make the cons a little bit more enjoyable. Plus, seeing the smaller attendance at, like, Kineticon had an amazing guest list. They had, 20 voice actors from Funimation.
Nice.
I finally got to meet Todd Haberkorn.
Oh, nice. Very cool.
And he remembered us.
Did he really?
Oh, yeah.
That's cool.
So we got to meet Todd. We got Todd's autograph, Alexis Tipton's autograph, Caitlin Glass, the Elizabeth Maxwell who voices Albedo from Overlord, got her autographed, Sunny Strait, Jeremy Inman. Even though she wasn't a guest of the con, she was still there because she's Jeremy Inman's girlfriend, Kimberly Grace, was in attendance. So we got her autograph. I think we walked away with 10 autographs. We spent a lot of money thanks to Darren. And it was neat to finally get to meet these people who I probably scratched 3 or 4 names off of my bucket list of people I wanted to meet that we've never had on the show. Caitlin Glass, Sarah Wiedenheft was there. We met her at Bakuretsu Con, the last anime con we went to before a pandemic hit in 2019. Leah Clark was there, so they had a big Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid thing going on because of that coming back. So they had Kobayashi and Toru.
That's cool. Good stuff.
So, it was fun to see these cons coming back, even though it was slow, even though attendance was down, even in the Artist Alley / Dealers Hall area, there were still empty tables in there, which was kind of weird to see.
Yeah.
I mean, most tables were full, and of course we supported people that were there. We talked to a lot of the vendors, and, a lot of the artists, and thanked them for coming out because, everybody still has their, hesitations about going back to a big event.
Yep.
At the same time, you don't think twice about going to Walmart, which probably has just as many people as half of these conventions we go to.
Right.
Or you go to the grocery store or something, and especially with the holidays around, these places are packed, but you're not thinking twice about going in and going shopping there. But a convention and people are like, ugh.
Yeah.
That's it. You should see a Bojangles on the weekends. You'll be amazed how many people you can pack in that dining room.
How many times do you have people sitting on laps?
Only the kids. But you'd be surprised.
How many people sit on your lap, Darren?
I stand all day, so I don't even get to sit. So that's not physically possible. Well, actually, no, I'm not going to go there.
to do it. Sorry, dear. I had to.
I don't care.
Oh, man.
Although Anime Boston, I did have an idea of what cosplay I was going to do, and then after thinking about the fact that it's going to be in May, like the end of May, I think wearing a full bear outfit is just going to be too warm, so we've switched it up. And I'm still looking at cross-playing, but I've got two characters in mind. I'm looking at Kobayashi, and I'm also looking at Senko.
I thought you were going to go with Stunk.
Stunk wouldn't be a crossplay, though.
I know. I'm just saying. I thought you were going to go with a more summer or spring-centric centered outfit. I was expecting a regular cosplay and saving the crossplay for another day.
Now, I already have the orange fox ears, so we just got to make the tail, and then I need to find one of those Shrine Maiden outfits. I've picked two female characters that have no boobs, so I don't have to worry. I just got to shave, put a wig on, and I'm good to go.
Well, about to say, they make stuff for people that don't. You know that, right?
Oh, I know. Trust me, we have friends who crossplay that have all the fake boobs and stuff like that. We shared a room with one of them.
Yes, and I'm pretty sure that's the same one you had on and I'm friends with.
Chain or Prime?
No. The other one I'm thinking of is Matt B.
Matt Bacco, yeah.
Yes.
Yep. We've had him on the show too. We didn't share a room with him, but Chain or Prime we had shared a room with at Bakuretsu 1 year. He's the one that dresses a lot of the My Little Pony stuff and some of the fursuit stuff. All the craziness. Now, knowing that you've just got done with a really, really busy time, the fall time has been absolutely nuts for you, especially with performances at Cedar Point, with Midnight Syndicate, as you mentioned earlier. How have things been going on that front for you?
Yeah, this year we made up for last year and then some. I think this year this has been insane. It was by far and away the busiest, most productive year that Midnight Syndicate's ever had. Starting back from late spring with Live Shadows, which was our first live album, based on the Cedar Point performances that we did for over the past years. We rolled right into production on Bloodlines, which is our first. It was like a mini album, basically, of new material in quite a few years. The Cedar Point show, which we basically, in the interest of time and like being able to plan things, they actually wanted us to just reboot a show. They didn't want a brand new show this year, which was great, So we brought back our 2018 Conspiracy of Shadows show, which is probably arguably, at least one of the more popular ones that we've done. It's definitely the darkest show we've ever done. It's pretty intense. But we tweaked a few things, having learned from the first time around, and brought that back to Cedar Point. Did another release of the Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights music album, the vinyl for that. This time out, we actually flew down to Universal Studios in Orlando for a signing. We had a couple days down there, which was crazy because the day we flew back, we flew right into performances on Cedar Point. It was nuts. It was like nonstop from May, I think. Yeah, it was like early May, all the way through till we ended the Cedar Point run. And I'm sure my partner Ed is, still running with the business stuff. He handles all the business and administrative things. And, we've got a couple things that are set up for next year already that he has to kind of plan ahead for and everything. So crazy.
Oh, it definitely sounds like it. Hello to everybody out there in the chat room who are coming in. It's great to see people filing in. I know it's weird for us to have a Thursday night show, but we wanted to get Gavin on so he could to help him promote Home Circle Media, especially with the holidays right around the corner. Get all of your last minute anime fans all the stuff that you can get for them right from homecirclemedia.com. And do you have special deals that are going on right now with Home Circle Media? Or?
One of the things that we've been doing actually for months now, but it was kind of an unannounced deal, is free shipping on any purchase of $75 or more. It's like it'll appear nowhere on the site. It's just when you add that much to your cart, suddenly the shipping just disappears. So there's that. But no, I'll take the blame on that. I was kind of preoccupied and maybe a little bit lazy or falling down on the promotional front on that. I probably normally would have done some Black Friday things or whatever. But just with everything else going on, it was like, okay, I'm done, so, nothing really to speak of, other than just the normal merchandise and stuff right now.
Well, I gotta say, free shipping on anything right now is kind of a good thing because shipping costs have gotten outrageous.
Yeah, and I'll say this because a lot of our sales come from the West Coast. I don't know how that happens, but it's fine. Like, I certainly am not going to argue with that. It's just weird to, like, all the cons that we've ever done have been in the Midwest and to the East Coast. So I've never been to California and stuff, and that's where 90% of our sales go for the online store. But yeah, you can save quite a bit on the shipping because shipping out to like California on several pounds of stuff, not cheap. So that is a good deal,
And I'm looking through the Home Circle Media page now, looking at like the art books and stuff, and it's like, oh, I see so many stuff on here that's out of stock.
Yeah, I probably should mention that too. That maybe that subconsciously was even a factor as far as the whole sale thing. This whole year, it has been exceedingly difficult to get merchandise, not only from Japan, but also from our U.S. distributor, which is probably just a chain of, they probably have a supply chain difficulty on their side too, because they're getting it from overseas. But where, one of our U.S. distributors would routinely take, say, about a month, on average to get an order out by from the time, I place it to the time we get it, easily 2.5, 3 months or longer. Yeah, it's just Japan. I put in an order like August 8th, I think, and I was worried about something about getting it before one of our shows. I think I'd mentioned to our rep over there, like, hey, if you can get this out, before we had NakaCon actually got rescheduled to Labor Day weekend this year. I said, hey, if you can get it out in time for the show, that's great because we can use all the stock we can get for that. And he basically said, you're going to be lucky to get it in September, period. Like, there's no chance you're getting it this month. And it ended up, I think, shipping maybe late September, early October. And they were just they're that backlogged. Everything is out of stock, or it's not. So yeah, it's certainly not for want of merchandise. It's for a lack of being able to get it right now.
Oh yeah.
Yep. I feel you on that one. I'm trying to order a new piece of equipment. I needed to know which year I needed to put it on, this year's or next year's. But it looks like I'm going to have to do it on next year's because they said they're out of stock till probably February, March at the earliest.
Yeah, I wrote somebody, we ended up running out of a sticker set that they wanted, and I ended up writing them. I said, I don't expect these back in stock, and they're already on order, but I don't expect them back in stock until the middle of January at the earliest. It's like then and beyond.
Yep. Anything regarding any kind of vendors from literally anywhere right now, the backlog on it is incredible.
Yeah.
And even at work, we have shortages of certain items. Some of them are temporary, some of them are long going. Others they claim that are just fine. We'll get a truck delivery and short. And it's just been never ending.
Yeah. I'm hoping that get caught up at some point, but I don't know when that'll be. It's certainly doesn't seem to be any time in the near future.
Nope.
And I can understand about things being backlogged and stuff because we subscribed to the Crunchyroll crate, so one of those anime loot crate things, 3 months in a row. It was August, September, and October. August we got in November. We're still waiting on 2 more.
Yeah. I know it's tough if you're really hoping to get something, like if there's an item that's especially like limited run stuff that is going to sell out. I know it's got to be tough, as a buyer to just like, oh, am I ever going to get this thing or whatever? And it's just, yeah, I mean, I feel bad that we don't have more stuff, especially going into the holidays. I wish we had like everything at least, available, but there's nothing nothing we can really do.
I'll say this, even browsing around some stuff for Black Friday this year, or Black Friday, Cyber Monday, however you want to phrase it. I was browsing several sites, and I went to go look at something, and it was just labeled out of stock. You could either get added to a wait list, or some sites didn't have that option and forced you to pick something else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then every time you turn around, you've got Sentai Filmworks being like, "Oh, look, we've got a sale going on."
Yeah.
Right now, in fact.
Between that and Right Stuff Anime, they always got something going on. But Sentai has been extremely generous with a lot of their titles this year.
Yeah.
And actually has been the past several years.
I would probably go broke if Funimation ran a sale similar to what Sentai has done.
Yeah. Well, not gonna lie, I preferred a lot of Sentai's titles recently, and that's still going for them. So, props to them. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah.
Although I will say that I had been looking at the series To Love Ru, and their prices hadn't dropped as much as I was hoping.
Well, it was what, $30 a season for each season, and there's 4 seasons.
Yeah, somewhere around there. It's like I remember a couple of years ago when we spent $100 and bought 10 DVDs. And then I told Darren about it, and he yelled at me because he ended up spending what, like $200?
220, 230, and I got more or less the same. Just I had some on there that were like $20, $30. I think I also had a limited edition Food Wars.
Yeah, you had a box set.
I think it was I had seasons 1 and 2, which I found at Anime-Zing, I believe, at a discounted price, surprisingly, and then got season 3 through them, and then I'm kind of waiting on season 4 to limited edition set to go on sale, and then I think it's on pre-order now, but I'm gonna wait till it actually goes on sale.
And then question that came in through the chat room, Trisha wants to know, what kind of songs do you sing, Gavin?
Oh, wow. Good question. Well, it depends on the project, actually. For Parlor Muse, I do kind of reworked versions, like folk rock versions of Victorian songs. So these are songs that were actually written back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. One of my other projects is Subtle Inversion, which actually started off as a Vocaloid thing. It was basically me doing all the music, and I had Megarina Luca, the Vocaloid, doing all the vocals. But I've since kind of transitioned that into just kind of a solo project outlet. So that's more along the lines of just, rock, electronic rock, that kind of thing. Yeah, and I've been thinking with all the cons kind of in the state that they're in right now, I'm like, wow, I wonder if they'd be able to go back into doing the musical guest thing, because I really missed that. I always have missed it, doing the anime covers and stuff. That was a lot of fun. It was a great way to get to share a lot of that music with everybody and stuff. So I don't know. We'll see what happens next year.
And see if you can throw our name out to some cons. We'd love to be a guest at a convention, and of course, the door is always open for any convention promoters who want to come on to promote your show. Through us. We're not looking for anything in return other than the fact that we want to help continue conventions going, continue to promote the shows and stuff, because we are anime fans here. We support the community, and we don't like you said, Gavin, you don't want to see any show shut.
Yeah. Yep.
That's why I said, if you can talk to the people at NakaCon, see if they'd be interested in getting a hold of us about coming on the show. We would love to have them.
Yeah, I'll drop them an email, and it's cool.
Because we don't want to see anybody close their doors, especially shows that have been around for ages. And I mean, I've never made it to NakaCon. The farthest I've ever traveled to a con was Katsucon down in the DC area, National Harbor, Maryland. But that doesn't mean that we aren't open to traveling more as time and finances allow it.
Yeah. Yep. I gotcha.
And especially now where I have weekends off from my job, I have the time. It's just the finances now.
Yeah. Right on.
Because everything goes up but your paycheck.
This is true. This is very true.
And, getting back to Home Circle Media, as you said, you're celebrating 10 years of this. And you've undergone a lot of changes over those 10 years. I remember at one point in time, you were dealing with figures, which you've gotten away from because they just take up too much space when you're trying to travel and set up and take down and things like that. What are some of the other things that you've experimented with selling that either worked or didn't work?
We were doing binders for the longest time, actually, like 3-ring binders, which I might still be doing them. We eventually ran into some quality control issues, unfortunately. Things were coming in damaged or broken and stuff, and it got to the point where I said, it's just becoming a little too commonplace, especially when, again, you have people waiting for like an order or whatever. You hate to get that one binder in and then have it damaged, and then it's like, well, we're gonna have to wait again for like 2-3 weeks to get another one. So those actually did fairly well. Yeah, the figures, I always liked carrying figures. It was one of the things when I started doing this full time. One of the requirements that I had was I do not want to have to get into like a specialized vehicle. I don't want to have to buy like a box truck that you have to worry about parking and stuff and all of that, So it's like, I'll carry whatever I can fit in my vehicle, which has always been like an SUV or something along those lines. And the more I got into figures, as you know, Doug, they tend to take up, the boxes take up a lot of space, to keep them safe and everything. So I would get maybe 2 or 3 boxes full of figures in my car and have very little room for all the display materials and everything. And it was really just getting to the point where it didn't make any sense, and then a lot of them, like the better ones, I tended to carry like the prize figures that are, like that $25-$30 price range. And then we would jump into like the Kotobukiya ones that are like $100 or whatever, or altar, the really finely sculpted things. So those didn't move as quickly. You'd get anybody dropping $25-$30 on like a Strike Witches figure or whatever to con, but it's a bigger commitment to buy $115 Black Rock Shooter figure, So between that, you end up getting a lot of money tied up in, a limited amount of stock that has a slower turn time, and then trying to move it safely and keep it all in good condition. There's a point where I just said, it's going to make more sense for me to focus on, things like the art books that I can take more of and, have a better selection and not try and carry everything,
Oh, yeah. Stuff like this.
Yes. Yes.
We should talk about the art books all the time, and this is the proof. I did get one from Gavin.
Is that the one that has a bit of a backstory that you had to kind of battle for?
This is the World Witches 2018. I don't remember if that was the exact one you had at Plattsburgh Comic-Con the year you were up here, but the only time that both of my main sponsors have been in the same location at once was Plattsburgh Comic-Con, I want to say 2018.
Sounds right.
And Gavin had a Strike Witches book. I think it was a Strike Witches book, not a World Witches.
Yeah, I could have been.
And my wife and I had said, depending on how good we do Saturday, Sunday we'll go around and make purchases. Saturday, Gavin had the Strike Witches book. Apparently, he sold one art book on Saturday, and it was that book.
Literally, that was the only art book we sold that entire show. Like, the entire show. And it had to be the one that you wanted.
And we laughed about that after the fact. You're like, that's the only art book we sold the entire weekend. I was like, figures. And it wasn't even front and center. It was buried.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll vary up on our displays. Sometimes if I have more room at a booth, I used to bring these magazine racks, so you saw the covers of the art books and stuff. So they'd call you over and it'd be like, "Oh, cool! I see Love Live or what, you know." But more often than not, just to save on space, I have them in a bin, you know. So you have to kind of flip through them and everything. And yeah, I mean that book was just buried in the bin. It wasn't something that like everybody was like, "Oh wow, it's here," you know. So.
And it's not even a series you hear a ton of people talk about anymore.
No, I mean it had its run, and it certainly has a dedicated fan base. But yeah, it's not exactly like you're hearing people scrambling for Strike Witches stuff right now.
And like I had mentioned before, I was looking through some of the art books and stuff you had, and I was like, you still got new game stuff. If I had the money, I would go after those. And it's like, which one do I want? Do I want the fairy stories, or do I want to get the TV animation official guide?
Yeah, a lot of those, like the illustration books, are cool because they have it's just pictures, just either screen caps and or illustrations, usually illustrations. But the guides are cool because if you read, I mean, if you could read Japanese, or if you want to use that as a learning tool or get somebody to translate it, you'll get a lot of behind the scenes information. They have episode guides, interviews with like the voice staff or the director and stuff. So that's kind of a fun thing with those.
And then I saw you also had the Show by Rock TV animation official fan book is in stock. The official art book is out of stock. And
Yeah.
it's like, and everybody knows how obsessed I am with Show by Rock. So
I still got to watch that one of these days. I guess there's a lot of shows that are still on my list, but
being a music guy like you are, I think you would really, really enjoy Show by Rock.
Yeah, I loved like K-On!, that's a classic. The music for that was phenomenal. I actually loved Love Live way more than I thought that I was going to. I thought it was just going to be kind of a fun, like almost throwaway show where you're there for the music and stuff, and it had a much, much better story than I was expecting going in. But yeah, the band or music oriented shows that I've seen are always fun,
And with Show by Rock, the nice thing about Show by Rock is they don't limit it to like Love Live is school idol girls.
Mm-hmm.
K-On! Is school idol group girls, things like that. So you get one kind of genre. Show by Rock, you get some pop, you get heavy metal, you get the rock, you get traditional Japanese sound, you get a lot of different types of music all melded together behind an interesting storyline where the first couple of seasons they're facing off against this guy named Dagger who's trying to destroy Midi City and corrupt everybody to be evil. And they use the power of music and the power of friendship to defeat him. And then Masha Myresh comes along, which I call it season 3, even though it's a completely different group of bands. And it's still the power of music, power of friendship. You see bands like Masha Myresh, you see 4 girls who kind of get thrown together. One of them's not even from the city. She's there for a singing audition, loses her paper, happens to hear a group doing a street performance, and the next thing you know, she's a part of this group. They don't even have a name yet. They don't even know if they're going to be a band. And by the end of the season, they're getting ready they're performing in one of the biggest festivals that Midi City has. And you get to see the growth through it. You get to see their interaction with more well-known bands. And it doesn't just follow Masha Myresh. They also follow, oh God, what's the name of that band? I can't remember the name of the band, but God, the characters are quite an interesting bunch of misfits.
Nice.
And they play heavy metal, and the style, like, I love it both in English and in Japanese for different reasons. The songs in Japanese are unbelievable throughout the whole franchise. When it came to English dubbing, especially for Masha Myresh, Megan Shipman, who directed the show, was limited to the cast she could bring in for 3 new bands. She didn't want to bring in somebody who was a part of any other band from the Show by Rock franchise, not knowing when they were going to make an appearance. So you already had like 8 bands ranging between 3 to 5 people per band. So that limits the talent pool that she had. So she brought in some new names, some new faces and stuff. And when you listen to it, like the first time Masha Irish sings together in the street performance and they bring How on up to sing with them, it sounds off, but it sounds off on purpose because anybody knows if you bring a random person up to sing with a band, they're not gonna hit the same notes. They're not gonna know how the band's doing things.
Yeah.
As they progress, you get to hear the improvements, and by the end of it, they sound really, really good. So
Nice.
The way that Megan directed it was unbelievable, and I think she was surprised when we had her on the show and asked her about, did you do this on purpose? Because I picked up on it right away. And, she said, yeah, that when you think about it, if you're going to have 4 people who barely know each other start singing together, you're not going to sound studio quality right off the bat. It takes time.
Yeah.
And and you coming from a musical background, I think you're going to be able to appreciate that more when you listen to it in English. And I recommend both dub and sub.
Cool. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. I don't know if you guys have seen Wake Up Girls. That's another Idol show, but one of the things that I liked about that is kind of tailing into what you're talking about. It was a lot more realistic. It wasn't about just a group of girls that suddenly got thrown into the spotlight and they're just idols all of a sudden, not having any background. It's more about like the behind the scenes workings of like the music business and struggling to get gigs and kind of like learning your parts and stuff. So that was kind of cool. It was nice to see a show that was less about just the eye candy and, nice finished songs and more about like, this is kind of what it takes to get there,
And I like shows where they show you the struggle before they, Love Live did a good job of showing how, the training that these girls had to do so that they could sing while dancing and the steps of learning how to do the dances and the choreography and things like that.
Yep.
Shows like Smile Down the Runway, which I will be honest, I had no hopes of that. I almost didn't watch it because I thought Smile Down the Runway was going to be another one of those America's Next Top Model type shows. The storyline behind Smile Down the Runway floored me. The fact that they didn't just focus on a girl who wants to be a model but is viewed as too short to be a model in the model world because she's not one of these 6 foot tall plus, gorgeous girls. And then you have her classmate who wants to be a fashion designer who makes clothes with whatever scraps he can find at home on a secondhand sewing machine. But the stuff he designs is phenomenal. And you get to see how they come together. You get to see how they grow. You get to see what it's like behind the scenes of one of these, highbrow fashion runway events, which 95% of, people have no idea. If you're not in the fashion world, you've got no idea what goes on there. You see the pictures of the models on the runway making poses. The clothes look nice. They make you want to buy them, but you don't know behind the scenes the chaos that's going on. And I thought the show did a fantastic job of capturing that.
That's cool. That's another one I'll probably have to check out.
And that is one that I will call a hidden gem because I wasn't going to watch it. Leanne talked me into it.
Nice.
And I loved it. Thought it was fantastic.
Those are the shows that I tend to love the most, or that stay with me at least the longest. The ones that aren't like, and nothing against really popular shows, but the ones like that it's like a hidden gem. It's got either great story, great characters, whatever. There's something about it that doesn't maybe catch the mainstream audience, but it's just really well done for what it is.
Oh yeah, and I like the fact that it was like an original idea, and I love shows like that, like New Game. We'll show you how we make video games. After School Dice Club. This is how we play board games. This is different board games that are out. A lot of the games covered in that anime were real games, and you got to see a girl who was trying to create her own game and showing how she was going through some of the designs of it, play testing and things of that nature. And those are the types of shows that I really have gravitated to over the past couple of years. I mean, yeah, Darren and I are still isekai trash.
Yeah.
Because there's only 5 million different isekai that come out every season.
Yes, this is true.
Have you gotten sucked into the isekai trap yet?
No, I too much of that. I just I don't know. It's not my thing really, I guess, but I'm sure there's good stuff out there. But
Darren, what's your opinion on the fact that like every season there's still like 10 isekais that come out?
It depends on if they're trying to be original or not. Granted, there's been so many isekai tropes that it's hard to be original, but there's a few that have done very well. Two in particular this season. One is a continuation. Of course, I'm talking about the grandfather of isekai, Jobless Reincarnation. That's actually been a original-ish isekai. And in terms of isekai, it was like the first popular story in the light novel world. It actually kind of kick-started that whole isekai genre. It just took a while for it to get animated, and of course, like I've said multiple times, it was so popular that they devoted a brand new studio specifically for producing this anime.
wow.
And then also this season, one of the more unique isekais is the world's finest assassin gets reincarnated as an aristocrat.
And that one was interesting. I've watched a few episodes of that. At some point, I'll get back to continuing it. The main character is just retired from being an assassin.
He's well in his, I'd say, 50 to 60 range at least.
He is on a flight to go to a school where he's going to be teaching future assassins. And the plane gets hijacked and he gets killed. So he gets assassinated by the organization he's spent his entire life working for.
Yeah.
He was retiring from the business and he ends up getting reincarnated into a world where the family he gets into is an aristocratic family. Very high prestige, well known. But they're a family of assassins. And his sole job to get into this, for getting put in this new world, is he is given a mission by the god who reincarnates him. He has to complete this mission within a certain time frame. And I don't want to spoil anything for those of you who haven't seen it and want to watch it, but you get to see him grow up and he retains all of his memories. He also gets 5 abilities, one from each tier, A, B, C, D, and E. And he gets to choose which ones he wants, where people are normally just, you get what you get. So he chooses what he feels will help him complete this job the most. And you just get to see his progression from infant as he grows up, including learning how to use magic and things of that nature. And like I said, I've only gotten like 2 or 3 episodes in, but it's been kind of neat because it's not the normal type of show that I would be watching.
That's cool.
And on top of that, you have as in his first life, he was an assassin. He had no emotion, no nothing. He was solely dedicated to his work. He had no goal in life other than to serve the organization that raised him. In this reincarnated life, he's kind of more free to start feeling what it's like to become an actual person. Basically, once this job is completed, he has the potential to live any kind of life he wants. And for him, that's unknown to him because he only had one way of life his whole life. And he's in the middle while he's planning out how to complete his mission. Like, what am I going to do after this? Can I do X, Y, Z after this?
That's cool.
In a sense, he's rediscovering himself during this whole process.
Yeah.
So there still is good isekais out there. There are some that, even though this one isekai that I've been watching with Leanne is there's a lot of isekai tropes in this. You can tell it's another one of those goofy harem style isekais. But it's called The Fruit of Evolution.
Okay.
And early on, and it's not just one character gets isekai'd. It's an entire school. Get sent to a world where they are summoned to be heroes to defeat the demon lord. The problem is 99% of the students go to one location, and the one guy who's by himself, who is fat, smells, everybody picks on, he has very small group of friends, ends up by himself. And the god who summoned everybody is like, oh, you're still here? Here, we will grant you one special ability, and then sends him to a completely different location, which is where this character starts to discovers, after days of living off of whatever he could scavenge in the forest, he comes across this fruit called the Fruit of Evolution. He eats it. The next thing you know, his body transforms a little bit, and he can transform from what the storyline, if I remember correctly, said, you can eat up to 10 Fruit of Evolution. After that, you die. But each time he evolves, his body changes, his abilities change, and he goes from being this, short, fat, smelly, slobby guy, and in the first episode, he knocks out a monkey with his body odor. Like, the gorilla is attacking him. He raises his arm. The stink lines come out from under his arm, and the monkey just drops.
I think I've heard of this somehow because I remember that. I remember seeing a clip of that.
And then it gets even weirder because there's this big pink gorilla that's out there and goes to attack him, and he dodges the attacks, and he takes the attacks head on, and nobody can do that. He's like, you're just a big dumb gorilla, and the gorilla looks at him and goes, I'm not gorilla, I'm Saria. And he's like, I want to marry you. So episode 2, you see him and the gorilla are living together, and he's trying to escape from the gorilla, and he ends up going against the skeleton dude in a cave. And as he's trying to defeat the skeleton dude, he almost gets stabbed, and here comes Saria and takes the wound from the sword from the skeleton, so that the main character doesn't have to. And then the next thing you know, the main character's like, I love you, Saria, and he's kissing a gorilla. He defeats the skeleton, and then the gorilla turns into this really hot naked chick.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, wait, what the hell just happened? and we haven't stopped watching it ever since. Every week, we know it drops Mondays, so every week it's like, okay, what's the next one that's coming out? And through the time frame of watching it, he's got a gorilla who turned into a chick, a donkey that turned into a chick who's part of his group, a warrior who's known as a calamity because bad luck follows her everywhere she goes. She becomes like his girlfriend as well as the gorilla. The donkey just wants to eat everything. And then this last episode, there's a 8-year-old catgirl assassin, and we're like, no, don't have her be part of his harem. He's like, I look at you as a little sister. You can look at me as your older brother. It's like, thank you for having some decency.
You forgot the Valkyrie. She's falling for him too.
Yeah, there's a Valkyrie knight. She starts calling him master because he defeats her in a battle.
Totally on accident.
Yeah, fun stuff.
Good evening, Story Comic. Thank you so much for coming in. For all of you new fans out there, if this is your first time watching the show, and if you enjoy what you see, hit the like button down below. Hit that subscribe button. We want to hit 200 subscribers, hopefully by the end of the year. That is our goal. Once we hit the 200 subscriber mark, we are going to be doing a giveaway where one lucky subscriber will get to be sitting in the co-host seat for a future interview with a voice actor. We've done that in the past. We love bringing people on to talk with the voice actors. We recently just did that with Rachel Mather, got to sit in on our interview with Giovanni Cruz, which was a lot of fun. So if you want a chance to come in, sit in the guest co-host seat for a voice actor interview, make sure to hit that subscribe button, share it with your friends, have them join in for a chance as well. We love giving back to the anime community, as Darren and Gavin can both attest. Big thank you to Gavin for all of the giveaways that we've been able to do in the past for cosplay contests and giveaways and stuff. Big thank you to Home Circle Media for all the stuff that you've donated over the past 7+ years.
Oh, happy to. It's all good.
And got a message from the wife saying that she's not feeling good.
Uh-oh.
So I'm not sure if she's going to be leaving work early or not, but so I'm waiting to find out about what's going on there. But what else has been going on with you, Gavin? Because it's been a while since we've talked. As we said, you've had a busy schedule over the past few months. And have you had a chance to breathe yet?
Yeah, yeah. No, that's kind of what my goal was with the since we stopped with Cedar Point, basically, like last month and this month. It's just, it's nice, especially at the end of the year, to just kind of take in everything that happened, digest it, kind of make some plans for things going forward and stuff. So been doing a lot of that. In fact, I kind of dropped off of social media around the time that Midnight Syndicate started getting really busy, and I really never have got back on with it, other than to maybe post a few Dead Mall photos every now and again. But we'll be getting back with that at some point too. But working on some cool things for next year, though. I don't want to give anything away just yet. Doing that sooner than later. But Parlor Muse will be coming back. Settle Inversion will be coming back. Some other things in the works and stuff beyond Midnight Syndicate. We always love playing at Cedar Point, so hopefully we'll be back for that. So yeah, just trying to kind of plot out what's in the future.
But it sounds like you got some good stuff coming down the pike, and we're excited to see where Home Circle Media goes. It's still hard to believe that you've been doing it for 10 years, and we've been doing this for almost 8. And it like we were saying earlier, when you start out an endeavor like this, a journey of a business or a podcast or something like that, you don't know what you're gonna face. There's always hardships. There's always those curveballs that get thrown in there, and stuff. What have been some of your wackier memories of Home Circle Media?
Oh man, wackier ones. Oh man. I'm trying to think of something really wacky. It's usually nothing that kind of crazy. Like I haven't had anything like super crazy. It's a lot of vendor stuff more than anything. Like one thing I will never forget this. It was the last year we did Otakon before they moved to Washington. It was still in Baltimore. They tend to get a bit of a line for the loadout, and I had gotten my vehicle in line and everything, and I had an assistant that was back at the booth, kind of getting everything ready and waiting for me to get to the dock so we can start loading, going home, and everything. And I think I was in line for maybe 30 minutes or something, and I had not moved an inch. And I know it's like an 8-9 hour drive back home. I probably had to be at work the next day, so I'm like, all right, I'm done with this. Here's the plan. Here's what we're gonna do. I ended up parking back in the garage that I had been parking at for the entire con, which was down at the end of the dock. It was like kind of across the street from the convention center. So I park in there. I walk down the dock with my cart, walk into the convention center, and I hand trucked everything out down the entire street, down into my car. Now, if you've been to Otakon, especially if you've been a vendor at Otakon, that is not a small walk. I don't know what it measures in terms of hundreds of feet or miles, but it's a long way. And I will never forget when I finally took my last load out to the car that I was, I think, in back of, was still not even in the loading dock area. It had gone like around the corner. It was like waiting to get into the dock and stuff, but I walked past where basically I would have been still waiting. And I thought, well, that was probably a good decision. I don't know. It was a lot of work, but hey, so sometimes you got to do what you got to do,
Oh yeah. And you've had experiences of having, some of the voice actors and stuff come to your table looking for merchandise and things.
Yeah, that was always a lot of fun. Like I talked to Jeremy Lee a couple of times. One time at Mitsuri Con, she came looking for merchandise from like the shows that she had been voice acting in and stuff. And she's a total sweetheart. Every time that I had the pleasure of talking with her, she's awesome. Monica Rial stopped by one of my booths, and I think it was in Syracuse years ago. Todd used to stop by. Once in a while, I'd see him just to say hi and stuff. It was really nice seeing the voice actors, like the people just being super nice and super genuinely down to earth, because you never know. I mean, you hear stories about like actors or whatever, and you don't know what's true, what's not true and stuff. And the ones that I had the pleasure of meeting were all just genuinely awesome.
Oh, definitely. And I can second about, how much of a sweetheart Jeremy Lee is. Monica Rial has always been great when we've had the chance to meet with her and talk with her. And everything. And
yeah, I did I judged a couple events with Tiffany Grant actually back in the day. I think we did it might have been a cosplayer. Yeah, I think it was a cosplay competition. We were kind of like booth neighbors for one of the cons that I did, and then I ran into her again a couple of years later for another con and stuff. So it was kind of funny.
And the way that you're seeing some of the voice actors and stuff set up now, a lot of them will have tables in the dealer's area or vendor's area, and it's not uncommon to if you have a table at some of these small medium-sized conventions, you might be tabling next to one of the big guests, like Kineticon, or not Kineticon, Saratoga Comic-Con a couple of weeks ago. One of the big guests that was there was Erica Schroeder, the voice of Eevee from Pokemon, as well as many other talented voices. And she wasn't very far from my friend Johnny C. She was in the same room as Johnny C, our friend Chelsea Von Chastity, very talented cosplayer, who's now, she told us that she's getting into making movies and things.
Oh, wow.
She was and the big guests were just a room over from where a lot of our other friends and past guests, Jay Moores, the awesome couple who sell Pokemon merchandise, Delicious Chocolates, Vicky Camp was there. So getting to see a lot of our old friends who we haven't seen in 2 to 3 years, at least. It was like, I didn't realize half of these people were going to be there. I knew Jay was going to be there, and I think I knew that Chelsea was going to be there. But everybody else that I saw, I had no clue they had tables. And it's like, oh, I can't believe you're here. And it was like nice to get back to the conventions and see your con family.
Yeah. Yeah, it was weird going back this year. It's funny. I got to a place in 2019 where I've always enjoyed doing the cons, like actually being there, talking to people. That's always the fun part. The part that's maybe not so fun, and it kind of came to a head in 2019, was the preparation. Like, it'll take me days to go through and pull inventory, pack it, because I have a limited space in my vehicle and everything. You have to pack carefully, and it can only take so much. So it's all about like kind of guessing what you think you'll sell through and all that kind of stuff. And then on the return side, inventorying that. What did I sell? So I can update the online inventory because they're not tied together. And then a lot of times when we did back-to-back cons, it'd be like turning right around and doing it all over again, So you'd be just constantly busy packing, unpacking, inventory, return inventory and stuff. And I got to a point before things happened in 2020 where I was just really getting tired and burned out of it. I mean, I genuinely didn't enjoy it anymore. And it was bothering me because I love being at cons. I just didn't like getting to the cons. You know what I mean? And then 2020 happens, and I'm like immediately going, man, I'm sorry for every bad thing I ever thought about this. I just want to be back there again. So, like when we went back to ESTL this year, you kind of go in like, I don't know what this is going to be like. I mean, I remember like how to do it and everything, but like, it was just very surreal is the best way I can think to describe it. I was so utterly grateful to be back. But then there's that like, well, are things going to be the same, and it was really weird, but it kind of makes you second guess a lot of the frustrations, and it kind of puts things in perspective when you don't have that for a year, how much it really does mean to you. And, it's like, well, maybe that wasn't such a bad thing. Maybe I don't, maybe it wasn't like such a hardship to go through this and stuff, you know.
And hearing that, Darren, we just had, was it your friend Godswill that was saying the same thing, that pre-2020, he was getting burnt out from all the conventions and appearances and everything going on. And then didn't Godswill say he was thinking of walking away from conventions for a while, and then he was forced to with 2020?
I believe you're correct.
And, you don't realize how much you enjoy the conventions or how much you rely on the conventions, especially as a vendor, an artist, even a podcast like ourselves, where we use conventions to find a lot of the guests to come on. And when there was no cons for a year and a half, we were struggling. We have many shows. It was just Darren and I doing a top 10 of some random thing because we had 2 hours of content we needed to put up there. Couldn't find guests. I mean, we have, a lot of great guests who we can rely on if we need somebody to come on in a pinch. But we also know that the listeners don't want to hear the same people over and over and over again, no matter how amazing they are. You can only hear same stories and things like that so many times before it's like, oh, they're on again. And I never want people to be like, oh, look, they have Rusty Gilligan on again, or whomever. And we didn't want to rely solely on being just a voice actor interview show, because that's not how we started. We wanted to include in the cosplayers and the artists and the creators and everybody. I mean, yes, we get most of the views to the show bringing on Abrina Palencia or Christy Rothrock or Monica Rial or whomever, but we also love having, like last weekend, our featured guest was Kidum Cosplay. A very, very talented and amazing cosplayer, especially the makeup they do is unbelievable. They were introduced to us by Christy Rothrock, very talented voice actress and radio personality down in Oklahoma. And so because she introduced us to the cosplayer, it's like, why don't you come on and be a guest co-host to a cosplayer that you adore? So you get a chance to talk with them. And it was really a great show.
It's cool. Yeah, sometimes it's funny. You find new opportunities, when you kind of, because you have to start thinking outside of the box like that, and it actually leads you in a good direction,
Oh, yeah. And you've had your fair share of fun stories with voice actor interviews.
Yeah, yes, as you well know. There's some fun ones.
Everything from being in a recording studio with Todd Habercorn to Brina Palencia leaving us speechless.
Yeah. I'm so glad I was part of both of those, though. It's like, man, I wouldn't have wanted to miss out on that.
I kind of wish that you had been a part of our Christmas special when we had Anthony Bowling and Jeremy Inman.
Yeah.
Because that was one that we still have fans talk about.
Nice.
And I know I've told you about it because we originally booked them for our Christmas special end of the year, because we knew how good of friends they were, and they pick on each other, and thought it would be fun to have them on the show. They failed to tell me that they were going to be at a Christmas party for a lot of the Funimation voice actors.
Nice.
So we didn't just have Jeremy and Anthony. Oh no, Jeremy's like, I'm going to go refill my drink. I'll be right back. He comes back with Tia Ballard. And then Terry Doty. And then Stephen Fu. And then another one. And then another one. They tried getting Alejandro Saab. He's like, oh no, I'm in talks. I'm going to see about going on the show in January. Which that fell through because of scheduling and things of that nature. But we weren't expecting that.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a nice surprise.
That was like... And after the fact, I was like, Anthony, if you had told us you were going to be at that, if you told us you were going to be at a party, we would have rescheduled you. He's like, I know. We didn't tell you because that was our gift to you and the listeners.
Oh, that's really cool.
It's like, you guys are too good.
Yeah. That's cool.
We are just about out of time tonight. We're going to be cutting it off here about 9:30 Eastern time. Due to the fact my wife's not feeling good, I'm going to be going and getting her shortly. But before we go, we want to give you a chance, Gavin, to promote yourself, everything that you've got going on, all the music, of course, Home Circle Media, any upcoming shows for 2022 where people can find you. You know it as our shameless plugging section, the floor is yours.
Yes. Awesome. Thanks. So homecirclemedia.com is where you will find all the anime goodness. GavinGoszka.com is probably the easiest portal to all my different music projects, including Midnight Syndicate. You can link to everything from that. So it's just GavinGoszka.com. What else? Con-wise, yeah, I've got a few scheduled right now. We're kind of working on the later part of the year. I'll be down in I forgot what state it is, North Carolina, for Ichiban. It's on the other side of North Carolina. Coming up in January, we're going to be doing Setsucon back in Altoona, PA, the end of January. NakaCon is not confirmed yet, but I'm hoping that'll happen back at near Kansas City, Overland Park, Kansas, Memorial Day weekends. I think those are the ones that are confirmed. Am I missing one? Oh, I am missing one. KitsuneCon. Been with them since year one, actually. So that's always a fun one to do. That's up in Green Bay, Wisconsin. That's in the summer, in July. So hopefully there'll be some more additions to that roster, that I can announce or what have you. But yeah, if we don't see you at a con, definitely hit us up online and stuff and look for some fun new products. And look for some fun musical announcements next year. I'll be probably getting more into some of the details on that, in the coming weeks, and making some announcements, some official things. But yeah, some interesting plans, for that.
Awesome. Once again, a big thank you to Gavin for joining us. Thank you, Darren, for hanging out in the co-host seat with us as always.
Cool. Thanks, guys, for having me on again.
And I hope everybody out there has a wonderful rest of the week. Just a reminder, this Sunday, we have got an awesome guest coming on, somebody we haven't talked to in a while. Tico Flores Kyle is a stuntman and martial art master. So it's going to be a lot of fun to bring Tico on the show. It's been a while since he's joined us. See what he's been up to. Last time we talked with him, he had gone to, I think it was a college in New York City, who was one of the top ranked college for martial arts, and was able to train with them and show them, teach them some of the stuff he does. He does fencing and all sorts of amazing things. So it'll be a lot of fun to reconnect with him. And then December 18th, a special Saturday show. It was going to be a voice actor roundtable, but I think because every time we've had this voice actor on, it's always been with somebody else, we're going to focus solely on Christy Rothrock. So that's a special Saturday night, December 18th, final show of the year. And then we're going to be taking December 26th and January 2nd off for our traditional holiday break. Give us 2 weeks to recharge. January 9th, we will return with Lainey Maloney, a very talented cosplayer who we got to meet at Saratoga Comic-Con. So it'll be fun to chat with her. Still working on filling out the rest of January. We're going to be doing some scheduling here coming up, so definitely pay attention to our Facebook page. We'll update that as we can. I will try to get better about staying up to date on that. And until Sunday night, I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of the week. Like I said, stay safe out there. I know weather is getting funky, especially up here in the northern New York area. We've been dealing with a lot of snow. Stay safe, and we will see you all Sunday. Have a wonderful night.